The Spin-off Podcast Network.
Talofa lava. I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spin-off. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spin-off member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
When the Facts Change is brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBank, the bank for Kiwi looking to get ahead in business and in life. A bank that delivers expertise and banking know-how, smart advice for business owners wanting to invest, grow their business or diversify. A bank that adapts with technology through the lens of its people and customers. It is a bank with heart that is driven by its purpose. Kiwi making Kiwi better off. I don't know about you, but I can remember where I was on February the 23rd this year, and I knew it would be a bad thing, not just for the world, but the global economy. When Russia invaded Ukraine, we all feared, for a few days at least, something much, much worse might happen. A clash between NATO and Russia that set off some sort of nuclear exchange. Luckily, of course, that hasn't happened. But we didn't have any idea how it would ripple through the global economy over the coming days and weeks. But ripple it did, and by March the 11th, something strange happened. It was a Friday night. Jimmy Ormsby, the managing director of Waitomo, the discount fuel company, put out a press release mid-afternoon to say that his service stations would be putting up the price of petrol by 17 cents a litre to almost $3 a litre the next day because of the rising oil prices and the fall in the New Zealand dollar. Wow. This spread like wildfire on the social medias, and before you knew it, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, anywhere near a Waitomo station, absolute mayhem. Queues right down the block, across traffic lights. And it became a major news item, a news item that dominated the bulletins that evening. That was the weekend when we got $3 a litre petrol, and the government knew it not only had an economic problem, it had a political problem. So the speculation started to fly over the weekend, and by Monday afternoon, in the regular post-cabinet news conference in the Wellington Beehive Theaterette, we knew something was up, but we didn't know really what. I sat in my seat just off the central aisle, making sure I had a good eye line to the Prime Minister so I can ask a few questions about the things I was interested in. But I knew something was up as soon as we saw Megan Woods follow the Prime Minister into the news conference. Something big was about to happen. This was the wicked, perfect storm moment. Have a listen to Jacinda Ardern introducing it.
Kia ora koutou katoa, good afternoon. Today I'm joined by Finance Minister Grant Robertson and Energy Minister Megan Woods. As I stand before you, we are in the midst of a global energy crisis. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has unleashed a global energy shock and a spike in prices at the pump felt by the whole world. Last week, prices for all three fuel types rose by the highest amount on record. 91 increased by 6% in a week, and prices have increased by 13% over the past month. The impact of the war sits on top of the pain already caused by the pandemic, with global supply chain disruption and increases in consumer demand causing high levels of inflation in many countries, including right here in New Zealand. We are in a wicked, perfect storm, and it's a storm that's impacting people's lives. We've said many times that forecasters predict that things will improve, and when it comes to inflation, that remains the case. Like our current Omicron outbreak, the current economic circumstances are expected to peak and subside over the coming year. As we've seen with the most recent jump in prices at the pump over the weekend, the situation has quickly become acute and extra short-term measures are needed. On that basis, Cabinet has decided today to do what we can to alleviate the increases at the pump by reducing the fuel excise duty by 25 cents a litre and the road user charges by the same amount for a period of 3 months. This means a potential saving of between $11.50 and $17.25 per tank of fuel. Cabinet has made the decision that, in addition, All public transport fares will be half price for the next 3 months. We hope this ensures that where the option of shifting how we travel is available, this makes it more affordable to take that public transport option up. We cannot control the war, and we expect continued volatility in fuel prices. But we can take a range of steps to reduce the impact on New Zealand families, and we are.
So there we have it, the big announcement, the wicked perfect storm announcement, where the government cut the fuel levy on petrol by 25 cents a litre. It went on to change the rules for road user charges for people who have diesel vehicles, and it meant that we were going to have lower petrol prices for 3 months, and that was it. Now we know now, of course, that wasn't it. It was extended twice more through the year, and as we speak over this summer, that petrol price levy cut and the diesel RUCs changes are still in place, and they're not due to be phased out until March. A full year, $1.1 billion worth of government subsidies to keep the price of fuel down. But in many ways, that wasn't the really big news, the one that shocked everyone. That piece of news was the halving of public transport costs. No one had seen this coming, but it was something that was about to be debated in the Auckland Council elections. The mayoral candidate for Labour, Efeso Collins, was proposing to remove all public transport fees and charges in Auckland. In the end, the government saw an opportunity to help people get out of their cars and into buses and trains by halving public transport costs and helping them with their inflation. I suspect in years to come we'll look back on this moment as a key one that will tell us how to deal, at least in one way, with the need for a just transition, where we encourage people out of their cars and onto bikes, into buses, onto trains, and the cost of it should be borne by those who can afford it. And those people who are in buses and trains are less able to afford it. And by cutting prices, you encourage more take-up. Now, the take-up perhaps wasn't as great as many people expected, in part because labour shortages meant that bus drivers and train drivers were hard to find and a lot of services were cancelled. But we'll look back on the wicked perfect storm moment as a moment when our thinking about climate change changed and we saw a way through to a just transition. That was another big moment for 2022 on When the Facts Change. When the Facts Change was brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network, together with KiwiBank. Visit kiwibank.co.nz to find out how KiwiBank are making Kiwi better off.
Are you making the most of your KiwiSaver investment? Generate is an award-winning KiwiSaver provider with a track record of strong long-term performance. Making a smart decision now could add tens of thousands of dollars by the time you reach retirement. Book a no-obligation chat with a Generate KiwiSaver advisor today at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/get-advice. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.